All right, welcome back. And let's talk about Git as we talk about source control with our projects. So what is Git? Git is all about version control. It's all about managing your updates, keeping an up-to-date repository, with tracking all the changes that have been made, pushing that to an online repository, a cloud repository, keeping the most updated version. And that's especially tricky when you talk about integrating your project with other people. If you're on a team with, say, 4 or 5 other developers and testers and so forth, and you had different parts of the project that you're sharing and working together on, how do you maintain the correct version? How do you maintain the versions? How do you also isolate a feature of your application, work on it while leaving the original version intact? So that's Git. Git helps us manage all of this. Git is something we're going to install on our computer. It's a one-time install, and it integrates with other cloud repositories. The most common will be GitHub, which is what we're going to be using. But there's also Bitbucket. There's a couple other ones. GitHub is again the most popular, and it's kind of the standard, especially as you are starting out and learning. You want to make sure you know GitHub. The process is going to be very simple. Although a lot of people are a little intimidated when they get into using Git, because we're going to get into the command prompts and we're going to use command prompt lines, and so a lot of people they kind of freak out when they see that black screen, have to type out the command. It's not as intuitive because there's no real user interface, but there's really just a couple of commands that we're going to cover, and there's initial setup that we're going to get our project hooked up and synced with Git, and then our repository, and then we're basically going to download updated files, and then push updated files to the cloud. And so there's really just 2 different processes. Once you initialize, you're going to download and update, and so we're going to go through that process together. Just a quick overhead here. We're going to configure Git to our machine, so it's going to be specific to you. You can configure your Git for each project. We'll also configure the project or we'll configure Git globally, so for all projects. The second process, we're going to create a GitHub repository. So I'm going to walk you through how to create a GitHub repository. If you don't have an account, we'll create an account together. Then you're going to push your code to GitHub. There's just 3 commands for that. And then we're going to work with branches. So branches are features that we're going to add to our project that we don't want to affect the master. We want to change the master. We want to isolate a feature of our application, of our code, work on it, and then we'll do what's called merging. We'll merge it back to the main master. So all of this, I'm sure, is maybe a little over your head, but I want to at least give you a picture of where we're going when we talk about source control, the commands that we're going to use with Git, getting a cloud repository, and working with branches. So join us for the next tutorial.